I thought everything was going well. Me, Charles Thompson, a 34-year-old engineer living the dream in Sydney, with my beautiful wife Nina and our two adorable little monsters, Jacob and Sophia. Nina is a quick-witted software developer, and together we built a little oldie in this sunny city. That morning, I was excited, ready for a big business meeting at the posh Radisson Hotel, a potential new client, and if I nailed this presentation, it could mean a big promotion. I was on top of my game, ready to go. But then as I was walking down the lobby, I caught Nina out of the corner of my eye. At first I just thought, oh, she must be there for a tech conference. But then I saw the guy she was with was tall in a smart suit, and he was holding hands like two teenagers in love. My heart stopped when they got in the lift, and this jerk kissed Nina passionately right in front of me. I don't kid, it was like a fucking movie there. It was my Nina, the love of my life, the mother of my children, making out with another man. I stood there frozen as the elevator doors closed. It was like someone had punched me in the stomach and knocked the wind out of me. I could barely breathe, let alone focus on reunion. My Pyomi was sweating and I couldn't stop shaking. All I could think about was Nina and that bastard probably going up to a room while I was downstairs, trying to make us more money all this time. I thought we had a whole loving family. Great careers, financial stability, but now I felt like the ground was opening up beneath my feet. The Nina I knew and loved was a lie. My beautiful wife, the woman I had absolute trust, had taken me for an idiot all this time. After that blow to the heart in the hotel lobby, I was in a terrible state. My mind was boiling, filled with a million questions. Had Nina been cheating on me for a long time? Was he even mine? I needed answers, but I didn't know who to turn to. That's when I thought of my mate, Michael Roberts. Yes, he's my lawyer, but we've been mates since our college days. If anyone could help me understand this nightmare, it would be him. I met Michel at our usual coffee shop, and as soon as he saw my face, he knew something was wrong. Mate, you look like you got hit by a truck. What's going on? I told the whole sordid story, hiding nothing. Michael listened intently, shaking his head, his brow furrowed in the serious manner of his lawyer profession. When I finished, he let out a long sigh and said, "Chuck, I'm so sorry, it's never easy, but we'll get through this together." First of all, Michael told me the legalities, the grounds for divorce in this country, the child custody laws that tend to favor the mother, how buys and finances are split up, alimony, all that happy mess. He spoke my language, simplifying things straight. "Listen, you have options here," Michael said. "If you want to pursue the divorce on the grounds of Nina's adultery, we'll need solid evidence, pictures of the instrument. Anything that proves she was unfaithful, but be careful, it could get very complicated." I agreed, my stomach still in knots. Michael must have seen the anguish on my face because he softened his tone. "I know it's a nightmare, buddy, but you need to think seriously about what's more important, your family or your dignity and your ego, because divorce is often a scorched earth situation where everyone suffers, especially the children." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. My little Jacob and Sophia were my whole world. Could I really expose them to the trauma of a divorce battle? To ease my own pain and anger, Michael could see the wheels turning in my head. My advice: go home, act like nothing happened. Enjoy your family, make love to your wife, play with your children. Don't let him know you found out about his schemes. It would only make this already complicated mess worse, as much as it was tearing me apart. I decided to follow Michael's advice for now. I went home with a smile on my face and tried to act normal around Nina. We had a nice family dinner, the kids babbling about their day. Nina was her caring, attentive self, the perfect mother. I looked at them tucking the little ones into their bed, kissing their foreheads and whispering how much she loved them all. I could think about was how could she do this to our family later that night, as Nina slept next to me. I stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above us. My mind went back to our beginnings. Two young lovers in our 20s convinced we were taking over the world together. On the outside, we had a solid marriage, beautiful children, great careers. But now that perfect image was cracking. The next morning, I called Michel and confessed I didn't know what to do. He suggested bringing in backup. I know a top private investigator, Sarah Stevenson, let me recruit her to investigate Nina's activities. If your wife is cheating on you, we'll get the evidence we need to handle this properly. I agreed, feeling a faint glimmer of hope. Maybe this Sasha could uncover the truth and help me understand Nina's betrayal. A few days later, Michel arranged a meeting with Sasha in his office. I'll never forget his first words after introducing us. Well, let's get this show started, okay? Sasha was all about being a big CH, no fuss, with a firm handshake and a piercing stare. She wasted no time laying out her plan of attack. I'll start by conducting an electronic search on your wife, email, phone, records, bank records, all that. See if she's had any shady dealings with money, contacting strange guys, that kind of thing. She looked me straight in the eyes. I should also track her investments and install a listening device in her car, or somewhere she has private conversations. We need solid proof, something that will stand up in court. I swallowed hard, suddenly feeling dared to spy on my own wife, but Sasha's face was resolute. Listen, I understand this is pretty uncomfortable, but if Nina is having an affair, you deserve to know the truth. I'll be surgical in this case, get in and out without her suspecting anything. Michael nodded me with a sigh. I told Sasha to do what she had to do. She gave me a tight smile. Good boy, I'll give you a full report in 3 weeks. Maybe less if this Nina is careless. Just stay calm and keep playing the loving husband for now. While Sasha leaves, Michael patted me on the shoulder. Don't worry, my friend. If anyone can find the truth, it's Sasha. She has the nose of a legier for sniffing out deception. I just prayed he was right, because at that point, with my world crumbling around me, the truth was all I had left to hold on to. 3 weeks later, I found myself in Michael's office with a knot in my stomach. Sasha walked in with a determined step with a serious face, a thick cardboard folder under the arm. The atmosphere was tense as she took her seat across from us. Okay, let's get to the point, she said, as she pulled out a stack of pictures and threw them on the table. Your wife has been up to something shady with another guy. My heart was pounding as I flipped through the pictures of snapshots of Nina entering a hotel with a tall, well-dressed man who granulated kissing in the lobby. A disturbing picture of them kissing passionately in the elevator. I felt sick. It's Robert Wilson, said Sasha flatly. I did some digging and it turns out your wife was dating this jerk in college before she met you. She stepped back with her arms crossed over her chest. It seems they rekindled their little romance about 2 years ago. I've been following Nina's movements. She's met Wilson in hotels, restaurants, at his place. You name it. They are very intimate. I clenched my fists, struggling to control the rage that was boiling inside me. Michelle reached out and squeezed my shoulder. There is more, Sasha continued. She pulled out a transcript and threw it on the table. I installed a listening device in Nina's car. Hear a recording from last week. Sam listened. She turned on the recorder, and Nina's voice filled the room, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I can't wait to see you tonight. My love, the kids will be in bed at 8. And then it will be just you and me. I gritted my teeth, my face burning with humiliation and anger. Listening to my wife make plans for a sordid date with her lover Sasha. Was Neil Recorder, his face impassive. Sorry, man. I know it's hard to hear this bullshit. Michael cleared his throat. What else have you discovered, Sasha? She leafed through the file, pulling out bank statements and credit card bills. Nina is hiding money from you, Charles. She has a secret bank account with 40,000 euros stashed away, in addition to a credit card and a disposable phone. All that to finance her little escapades with Romeo. I guess my head was spinning. All those years of lies and deception right under my nose. I felt so stupid. Sasha wasn't done. She stared at me with her piercing eyes and said, There's one more thing. And it's big. We've done DNA tests to determine if Wilson is the father of your children. My heart stopped. Sasha, let the words hang in the air for a moment before dropping the bomb. Charles, you're not the biological father of Jacob and Sophia. It's Wilson. The room started spinning as those words hit me like a sledgehammer to the gut. My own children weren't mine. I clung to the edge of the table, fighting waves of nausea and disbelief. How could this be happening? Michael was by my side in an instant. Breathe. Man, just breathe. I gulped air in my mind, swirling those beautiful little faces. I adored the children I read stories to before tucking them in at night. He wasn't even my flesh and blood. Tears burned in my eyes as I struggled to process this heartbreaking revelation. Are you sure about this? I stammered. Looking desperately at Sasha, she nodded darkly. DNA tests don't check. I'm so sorry. I buried my face in my hands. Heartbreaking feelings pouring out of me. My perfect family. The life I thought I had was just a mirage. A cruel, unbearable lie when I finally regained my composure. I stared at Sasha with a hard stare. I want you to do the DNA tests again. Check and recheck no matter what it takes. I need to be absolutely certain before I do anything hasty. She gave me a curt nod. Understood. We'll get definitive answers on Wilson's paternity anyway. As Sasha gathered his things to leave, she touched my arm gently for what it's worth. Nina still seems to like you despite her indiscretions. Just don't do anything illegal or hasty. Okay, let's handle this the right way. I could only nod my mind, still reeling from the devastating revelations when the door closed behind Sasha. I turned to Mekel, my face lined with pain. What should I do, my mate? My whole world came crashing down, sitting in Mekel's office. My head was spinning like a toupee after Sasha dropped his explosive revelations. Nina, my beautiful wife who I adored more than anything in the world, had been cheating on another guy behind my back for years. And Jacob and Sophia, my pride and my joy, the little sacred monsters I lived for. They weren't even my children. Just thinking about it made me want to vomit. Waves of hatred and disgust washed over me, imagining her writhing under that smug Robert Wilson in a mythical hotel. The lies, the deception, the sheer cruelty of it all. It was almost too much for my brain to process. This woman I had loved with all my being had completely fooled me in the worst way imaginable. But then, in the midst of all this blinding rage, I would sometimes catch a glimpse of Jacob's mischievous smile or Sophia's angelic face, and my heart would break all over again. Those beautiful children, the ones I had rocked them to sleep and read countless bedtime stories. They were the innocent victims of it all, and as much as Nina's betrayal cut me to the core, a small part of me still yearned to be a father to them. It was a headache for sure. One minute I was fantasizing about crushing Robert's smug face, the next I was picturing Jacob and Sophia missing their warm little hug and the way they would curl up in my lap for cuddles. I felt so torn, like my heart and head were waging a fierce war inside me. Michelle and Sasha could see the torment etched on my face after I had time to process the PO gut punch of their revelation. Michelle gently suggested I talk to someone, a professional therapist, who could help me sort out this emotional mess. It's the right thing to do, Chuck said, as he squeezed my shoulder. You're dealing with a lot of heavy stuff here. Better get an outside perspective before making active decisions. That's how I found myself sitting across from Dr. Elizabeth Thompson, this chic lady with a warm smile and kind eyes. At first I was skeptical. How could this very anti-therapist understand the unique flavor of the agony I was drowning in? But as soon as I began to confide, she simply understood. Over the next few weeks, I would show up in her opulent office in a pitiful state, oscillating between blind fury and overwhelming pain. Dr. Thompson listened patiently as I fumed at Nina's lies and betrayal, or broke down in tears thinking about my lost relationship with the children. It is completely normal to feel such a complex storm of emotion. Charles, she said in a soothing voice, you have seen your entire reality shattered in the most cruel way. Anger, sadness, confusion. All these feelings are legitimate and understandable. Slowly but surely, she began to help me untangle the knots of rage, pain, and love that had become tangled inside me. Through our sessions, I realized that despite the contempt I had felt for Nina, because of her deception, a small part of me still loved her, the beautiful, caring woman I had fallen for all those years ago. But this revelation brought forth even more anguished questions. Could I ever truly forgive her? Was it possible to rebuild even a shred of trust after such a monstrous betrayal? And if I decided to leave Nina, could I maintain a relationship with Jacob and Sophia, the children I had raised as my own? Dr. Thompson did not judge or impose her opinions. She simply gently guided me through the labyrinth of my inner turmoil, causing me to weigh the pros and cons and decide on the path that felt right to me. It's your life, Charles. She reminded me, only you can decide if you want to fight for your marriage or if the betrayal is too much to overcome. And as for the children, you will have to look deeply into what is truly best for them, regardless of Nina's actions. Some days I would storm out of her office in a rage, convinced that serving Nina the divorce papers and leaving her behind was the only solution. Other days I would leave with a weary hope, wondering if it was possible, maybe to forgive his lies and rebuild our family from the ashes of his betrayal through it all. Dr. Thompson was a constant and reassuring presence with her guidance. I slowly began to gain clarity and perspective on my situation. As trying as it was, she helped me realize that no matter how much hatred I harbored for Nina, I couldn't let it poison my relationship with Jacob and Sophia. If there was a way to keep it, these children are innocent through it all. She reminded me softly, and you have been a father to them since birth. This bond doesn't just disappear because of Nina's mistakes. Those words rang true despite all of Nina's unforgivable sins. I knew I could never give up on these children. No matter the DNA, they were my world, and I had to find a way to keep them in my life, no matter how much it was getting complicated. Yet the thought of coming face to face with Nina was driving me mad. She had lied to me, cheated on me, destroyed everything I held sacred in our marriage. Just imagining her smug face made me want to scream and throw everything across the room. But Dr. Thompson continued calmly to bring me back to reason, helping me channel that burning rage into a cold clarity and determination. If I decided to leave Nina, it should be done in a measured, controlled way for the sake of the children and my own sanity. Do not make active decisions based on anger or hatred. She warned, this path only leads to more pain and trauma for all concerned. If you finally choose to end your marriage, do it with wisdom and planning, not with heated emotions. Those words were like a cold sod on the flames of my fury. As much as I wanted to react violently to make Nina feel even a fraction of the agony she had inflicted on me, I knew I had to be smarter than that for Jacob and Sophia's sake, if that was all I could do. So I continued to see Dr. Thompson battling the demons of love and loathing that were battling within me. And with each session, I felt myself getting closer to a decision about my future and Nina's place in it. If she had one, it was a brutal, soul-wrenching process. There was no doubt about it. But at least I didn't have to face this abyss alone. With Dr. Thompson's guidance and my own reserves of inner strength, I was determined to find a way through the wreckage of my life, no matter how much it hurt. After weeks of soul-searching and painful sessions with Dr. Thompson, I finally felt ready to snatch the bloody bandai. Michelle had asked Sasha to prepare the divorce papers, as well as a thick pile of evidence documenting Nina's sordid affair, photos, recording copy of her DNA tests. Damaging everything was ready to detonate the nuclear bomb that was about to destroy my marriage. The plan was for Sasha to hand over the papers to Nina while she was in the middle of one of her shady dates with Robert Wilson. Michael's information indicated that he crashed in a mythical hotel near the airport every Thursday afternoon for their sordid escapades. I wanted Nina to get a harsh dose of reality so she could see the whole sordid truth we had discovered as she betrayed me in the act. I will never forget the call I received from Sasha on that fateful day. His voice was tinged with a strange mix of professionalism and something like pity. "It's done." I handed over the papers to Nina at the hotel while she was with Wilson. They are now fully aware of the situation. My heart was pounding, but I managed to articulate how did she take it? There was a pause, and I could almost see Sasha's expression, that mix of cold detachment and slight compassion. She was shocked at first, then flew into a rage once she understood the extent of the ordeal. She threatened to make me stop all of it. But I ended the discussion and let them handle it. I closed my eyes, letting the words wash over me. Nina had finally been forced to face the incredible web of lies and betrayal she had woven. And from what I could hear, she was still clinging deliriously to denial and anger rather than face the truth. "I'm sure it'll sink in eventually," Sasha said almost softly. "You left her no choice but to accept reality now, for the better or for worse." I thanked Sasha and hung up my hands, shaking. Part of me felt a wild satisfaction, as if I had finally broken through an abscess of deception that had been plaguing me for too long. But another part was aching for the devastation Nina must be feeling, no matter how much she deserved it. When I came home later that night, I wasn't surprised to find Nina's car in the driveway and her angry voice echoing from the living room. I squared my shoulders and went inside, preparing to face her fury. "You ruined everything." She screamed, her face blotchy and her eyes wild. The divorce papers were crumpled on the floor at her feet, along with the pictures and the cold, hard proof of her indiscretions. For a moment, I almost felt a pang of pity for her. This was the moment her world was collapsing on itself, just like mine had collapsed, melted weeks ago in that hotel lobby. But the memory of her betrayal is scaring, of my lost relationship with Jacob. And Sophia has swept away any remaining empathy. "You did this to yourself, Nina." And I said, keeping my voice exasperatingly calm and collected, "You lied, cheated, and destroyed the very foundations of our family. This is just the consequence of your actions." She opened her mouth, no doubt, to launch another diatribe of indignant denial. But I raised a hand and continued speaking. "I'm leaving, Nina. I've had enough. You can keep all this mess because I refuse to be a part of it any longer." The fighting spirit seemed to leave her at her words. She collapsed on the couch, short of breath with sobs, as the weight of her deception finally crushed her. I felt a strange sense of emptiness in watching my wife of 10 years collapse into a wailing, miserable state. It was the implosion of everything we had built together. A brutal, devastating end, with a calming breath. I turned and headed to the bedroom to pack my bags. I had nothing more to say to Nina. The papers were served, our marriage was officially a smoking ruin. All that was left was to gather my things and get out of this toxic wasteland, ready to start a new life. 3 weeks later, I was 10,000 miles away, landing in the stifling heat and humidity of Singapore. My new job at a leading engineering firm was calling me an opportunity to spread my wings to the other side of the world, and most importantly, it was a chance to purge the lingering stench of Nina's betrayal and restart my life. Those first few months in the Lion City were a whirlwind of sound, of color, and humidity. So PCE that one could have drunk it in appearance. I was all for spending long hours in the office getting my bearings in this humid metropolis of glass and steel. But in truth, I was also desperate to escape the demons that still haunted me from Sydney, the ghosts of the life and family I had lost. Then, one hot afternoon, I met Jessica, and everything changed. We had been assigned to the same project. This girl looking for sexes as bright as she was. Beautiful at first. I admit I was reluctant to let anyone get too close. The wounds of Nina's cheating were still fresh and throbbing. I was all about Jessica. Abrupt nods and monosyllabic answers whenever we were forced to interact. But there was something about her, a warmth and a natural trust, that slowly began to chip away at the icy walls I had built around my heart. We had these endless discussions over curry poof and Tarek. I found myself opening up, sharing parts of my story that I had sworn to never reveal to another soul, to her credit. Jessica didn't judge or pity me. She just listened attentively, her warm brown eyes offering a strange kind of balm to the scars, LED and jagged, left by Nina's betrayal. Slowly, but surely, she began to make her way into the cold, dead cavity of my heart and show me that it was still capable of tenderness and connection. The first time we kissed, it was like a rebirth. We were working late at the office, finishing the last details of a big presentation, while everyone else fell asleep, euphoric with the thought of beer and freedom. Jessica and I were alone in the quiet, shadowy office. Within a minute, we were discussing having an Anka. Then she got so close, I could smell her perfume and see the golden glint in her eyes. She leaned down and placed her lips on mine, soft and exploratory. At first, I instinctively stiffened my body, preparing myself for the pinch of rejection or betrayal that had become so familiar. But Jessica simply intensified the kiss, her hands sliding around my neck. Then, that she was pulling me closer, in that burning moment. And gasped temp, something deep inside me finally released its death grip on the past. I kissed her back with a kind of desperate and throbbing desire, like a man dying of thirst who is offered a powerful draught of fresh and sweet water. It wasn't just desire. It was an awakening, a rebirth of something I thought was dead and buried. From that spark, a passionate romance was born between Jessica and I. We were inseparable, spending long, peaceful days exploring every corner of Singapore, cruising on bumboats along the river, enjoying laka at the hawker stalls, even making a few naughty visits to the illegal street races that tore through the alleys at night with Jessica. I felt more alive than I had in years. Her mere presence was like a soothing balm, a reassurance that the ability to love and trust still lived in me. Despite Nina's brutal betrayal, she brought me cups of Tarek tea in the morning with a soft kiss on the cheek, listening with infinite patience as I confided my fears and demons over breakfast. And for the first time since the truth about Nina's affair came crashing down, I allowed myself to dream again of a future where the ashes of pain and deception would give way to something new, beautiful and pure. These 2 years were a whirlwind, falling more and more under Jessica's spell as we built a bond of tenderness, intimacy, and a sort of almost adolescent adventure. So when she announced one morning that she had received a tempting offer at the Foreign Office in London, I didn't even hesitate before exclaiming, "I'm coming with you." So the decision was made. We would do a 2-year stint in the UK, just long enough for I gain more experience and international recognition. Then who knows? Maybe we'll return to Australia once the dust settles to start new lives away from the toxic rubble of my marriage. "You're sure of that, then?" Jessica whispered as we lay tangled in the sheets, our bodies still glistening with sweat and satisfaction, leaving this place moving halfway around the world with me. I followed the curve of her cheekbone, marveling at how this remarkable woman had resurrected my broken heart and reminded me how to live and love again. "You can be sure of that." And I replied, thinking it with all my being, "I don't want to spend another day away from you, Jessica. You've given me a future again, a reason to embrace life and all its possibilities." She gave me that smile that always made my heart beat in my po, and I held them close, relishing the warmth, the trust, and that undeniable feeling of accuracy that came with being in his arms over the next few months. We prepared new adventure in London. I had landed a lucrative job in an engineering company, while Jessica's role at the Foreign Office was practically a dream come true for the well-born girl. We found a beautiful flat in one of those posh, leafy areas I had only seen in the movies, and Jessica started looking into schools for the little one to come. That's it. My Jessica was pregnant, a new life, blossoming in her belly. I still remember the night she told me, her face beaming with joy as she pressed my hand to the small swell of her belly. "What do you think, Daddy? Ready to be a father again? I have never been so ready for anything in my life." I whispered, kissing her deeply. For so long I had wandered through the scorched, irradiated wasteland of Nina's betrayal, convinced that I will never find my way to greater heights. But this incredible woman had lifted me from the ashes into a new world, full of possibility and promise. A world where the ability to love and trust was still there, waiting to be embraced. As Jessica and I prepared for the move to London, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself in years, a giddy feeling of excitement for the future and all it held.